I started playing drums around 8 years old, beating on boxes around the house with branches from trees and pots and pans, of course. My mother saw that I was interested, so I got my first drum at about age 8. And a play drum, or a kid drum back then, was basically paper and tin, so it didn't last too long, no matter how much you tried to take care of it. Got the next level of drum at 10, plastic shell with a plastic head. Lasted a little longer, and then the thing that changed my life was getting a drum set at age 12. And of course, back then we couldn't afford the drum set right out, so she put it in layaway. And I remember going to pick that drum up that day at age 12. I remember like every block. And we brought it home and played it in the backyard. It was a 3-piece blue sparkle. Sparkle was a thing back then. At that point, I saw that I had my mother's blessing to play drums, and I began to just play and start gigging 2 years later in a group with some guys older than me, and learned a lot about music. And I did that for 3 years before I went to college. And so when I went to college, I decided to be a music major. Before I went to college, I joined the high school band in the 11th grade. Actually tried to start playing drums in the 7th grade, but I got there late and they put me on trumpet. So I didn't want to do that, so I didn't join again until the 11th grade. And after those 2 years in high school, I went to college, Mississippi Valley State. And I majored in music, and I met a lot of friends, and determined at that point that I wanted to be a teacher. And from there, I went on to graduate school, and my first teaching job was back at Mississippi Valley State, teaching drums. And I was there for 9 years, and after 9 years, I came here to Ole Miss, and that was 18 years ago. I was influenced by the music of the Delta, and of course, we grew up listening to Motown, the sounds of Philadelphia, Stax, Atlantic Records, groups like Al Green, Staple Singers, Earth, Wind and Fire is my favorite music group. So I listened to that music. Maurice White, who was the leader of the group, he played drums, but he also played kalimba, and that's one instrument I really wanted to learn to play from seeing him play it, and finally got one. And of course, blues was everywhere in the Delta. You can go to the next block and there was somebody playing at like a little cafe or a honky-tonk, playing blues, funk, rhythm and blues, and so you heard live music and you got a chance to interact with those musicians, and that influenced me a lot.
Do you remember the first time you played a gig live?
Yeah, the first time I played a gig live, I was 14, and this is the first time I got away from just playing in the yard and got a call from a local group, and they were older, and we played downtown Greenwood, and I guess I was good enough to hold the beat and play a few drum fills, but that was at age 14.
What's the story of how you met my mother?
Met my wife Annie in college at Mississippi Valley State. I actually met her as a freshman. We had a math class together. She was good at math, I wasn't. So got her to help me out. I think I made a D in that class, and she made an A. And we were in a Christian organization together. Never dated until my senior year. In her senior year too, she asked me out. And that was the beginning of the relationship. We got married a year after that. And of course, I went on to grad school, and that was our first time living away. After grad school, back to Mississippi Valley State. 2 children from that union. Rachel was born while at grad school in 1983. And then on my first teaching job at Mississippi Valley State, Tim was born in 1988. I do have some musical family. My influences were one of my oldest sisters and my brother, who played a lot of music around the house. They never played musical instruments. But I have my youngest sister played flute in the band, and her daughter played clarinet. And my brother-in-law, who was married to my oldest sister, who influenced me, he played flute and really bought me one of the first world instruments, some bongos, way back in the 70s, and I kept those for a while. And he turned me on to a lot of really good world music, and that was my beginning of listening to world music.
Is there a story? Did you play with Bobby Rush at some point and played at a club, something, and got shot up? Is that right?
Yeah, back in about 1977, the group that I played in, I was 17 at the time, about to turn 18. We were going to play in the hills of Carroll County, and we were going to back up Bobby Rush. And we were excited, so we got there before the gig, got set up, and we're ready to go. And as soon as we hit the first note, somebody started shooting in there, and we didn't get a chance to really do that gig with Bobby Rush. We packed up and we left. Okay. Yeah, I would recommend really any music out of New Orleans. I hadn't seen a group yet that toured that wasn't really, really good and had something special to offer. So I really love New Orleans music. I heard a really good group lately called 311 that plays some really hip, kind of hip hop-ish rock blend with some really cool lyrics, sound really good live. And that was something that was totally new to me. Personally, I like to listen to R&B, and I have a really wide variety of world music that I listen to. When I traveled to Argentina and Uruguay, I got into candombe from Uruguay, and of course I had already listened to music from Argentina, tango and those things.
I think that group's called 311. Yeah, they're called 311, but that's okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do I need to say that again?
No, we're gonna leave this completely uncut.
Just let it go. Let it go like that.
What's your favorite place that you've visited outside the United States, or maybe in the United States?
The favorite place that I visited outside the United States is Jamaica, which is some more music that I want to talk about. Of course, there's reggae, but they've got mento and some other things happening there in Jamaica. Some really fine musicians, and just really like that whole scene. And I got a chance to see Jamaica, live with the people for several days, and then we went to a resort the last few days. So I really enjoyed that trip. I've had a good life. I've been blessed in everything that I've set out to do, so I'm really happy. What changed my life before I came to this point, because I was really out there, I was just way out in the world, doing some things that could have taken my life. At 17, I found the true meaning of life is that we're created by somebody, and I found that to be God. And so I believe that Jesus is the Son of God. That changed my life at 17. From that point, I had vision about school, life, and career, and I'm living in that career now. So I think true peace and joy comes from knowing our Creator and having a peace with the Lord. My name is Ricky Burkhead, and this has been my Oxford session.